Hey. Cool, yeah. So the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm going to be talking about designing engaging networks pages and some of the lessons that we've learned. Yeah. So we're C6. We're an accredited EM partner, and we kind of specialize in campaigning and tech. Somewhere on our website, it says that we're disruptors, and today I will be disrupting by eating into my Q&A because my talk is too long. So apologies for that. Normally when, we do a talk, so this is our 4th year, and we kind of look back at the previous year and we pick something that we did and kind of, go with that. So we've done sending a video to your MP, we've done physical postcards, MP pledges. And when you go to look back at the last 12 months and you take a second, you realize how crazy it's been in the UK for advocacy. We've had 4 chancellors, 3 prime ministers, 2 monarchs, and a partridge in a pear tree. It was also a big year for me personally. My daughter's kind of born, so yeah, it's been pretty full on. And next year, as if, we didn't need more fun, we're also going to have a general election. So I think the first thing I'd say, and, a million people have said this to me as well, is that if you work in any type of political advocacy, take a holiday now, Start bunking off Friday afternoons, come in late on Monday, because shit's about to get real. So we looked back at the last year and we thought, what can I talk about? So we did a lot of kind of bespoke tools around the cost of living crisis, lots of localized data, so I was like, I could do that. Check the agenda, somebody else was already talking about that, okay. What about AI in campaigning? Check the agenda, oh, Graham's talking about that, what's next? So the other thing that we've done a lot this year is kind of designing or redesigning EN templates. So lots of people doing brand refreshes, they want extra functionality, or just, time to clean up old code. So that is what we're going to talk about. Just a little kind of disclaimer that we won't be covering content. I originally wanted to, but yeah, not enough time. So I know I'm giving a talk about how to design templates, but first of all, I just want to say that I'm not pretending that I'm an expert or that I know everything. This is more a kind of open discussion and a bit of transparency. Every time I do any testing, one of the things that I'm really kind of shocked by is how kind of little public knowledge there is in our sector, okay? Some agencies will publish it, and others don't. And so generally I find myself just WhatsApping people I know that work in charities or work in other agencies and being, oh, have you ever tested this before? What works and what doesn't? So we're going to build templates, or really any digital design. For me, the first step is research, okay? You don't need to just dive in and start doing it. There are loads of organizations out there that have spent loads of money on UI, UX, all those good things. And so rather than trying to do that all yourselves, particularly when advocacy in the UK is generally like the smaller arm of organizations, I think most you'll find probably fundraising's like the big department with all the budget, so it can be hard. So look at what other people are doing and copy it. And it doesn't even need to be in the same sector. So when we were doing donation pages, I spent a lot of time looking at Deliveroo. The Guardian do some really great quizzes. So when we were doing that for a client, we're saying, okay, how do they do it rather than trying to figure it all out from scratch? So petition 101, and this is just to give us a bit of a baseline, okay, before we get into some of the testing. So if you look at most petitions, these are the things that I think are kind of the main key things that you'll see across all of them, okay? So number 1, remove distractions. It was very popular around 5-10 years ago to kind of have your website navigation at the top and kind of pretend people were still on the same place. But now more and more, just focus. They're here to do one thing, and that's sign this petition. You've also got a clear visual hierarchy. The eyes kind of flow from the title to the image across to the form. We've got some social proofing here, the main one being the progress bar, but they've also got a roll call of who's recently signed. You'll see on the right there, you've got a mobile design. As like most people, you'll find it's well over 50% now, if not higher. We've got some informative error messages. So not stuff like fill in the required fields. It's actually telling you what to do. Please enter an email address. And for GDPR, we've got the classic opt-in warning. So if someone says, no, I don't want to hear about your emails, you can pester them until they do. Now, I think for most organizations, or certainly the ones we deal with, often they kind of think the journey ends once someone's signed the petition, when you've got this whole other second part to it, which is the thank you page. And this is honestly where I think the most value is for improvements. So back in the day, most people just have one long page and have a few different asks on it. Thank you, read a bit more here, maybe donate, and then maybe share at the bottom. What we kind of promote is using like a daisy chain approach, where you have a single ask per page. So you'll see what Change do here. They just want to ask for the money, give me money. There's an option to skip, so if you click no, it will then take you onto the share page. You've got a nice visual progress bar at the top to see you as you go, and you've also got some reassuring visual prompts. Kind of two main ones here are, I don't know if you can all see it on the screen, but below the donation ask, it says pay with credit card or PayPal. It's one of those small little details where we just kind of presume everyone's going to know that, but just adding in those little prompts can really make a difference. And even on the share buttons, using the logos of the platform they're going to share, just give people that visual kind of confirmation. Now, I did petition because it's one of the more straightforward pages to do, but here's a donation page that we did for one of our clients, and I think you'll see it's still got a lot of the same components. So you've still got that visual hierarchy, you've still got that single ask per page. So on here, that would be first enter your amount, then add your details, then do payment. It's got a different design for mobile, and you've also got those visual prompts, whether that's the card and PayPal icons or even the padlock and the secure icon below the donate. So, done a bit of theory, now we're going to get in the practical, and this bit's going to be interactive. I'm going to give you some tests, and you're going to guess the results, and we're going to see how much we all know. So, background image or no background image? So, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to crack on. So, have a good look. It's exactly the same petition, but one's got a background image and one doesn't. One thing to just quickly note about UNICEF is the background image is like their core branding. So if you ever go on the landing page or any page, you'll see that. So A, it gives you that kind of brand confirmation, and also I think it just looks better. But so, lift your hand up if you think the plain or control version is going to win this test. Ooh. Okay, hands down. Who thinks the variant with the background image is going to win this test? Oh, not much faith. Okay. And who thinks there's going to be no statistical significance? Okay, so people are banking on the control. Originally, I was going to get Akshay to have a little drum roll for me, but we couldn't source one in time. No statistical significance. Now, I use the background image as an example because it was a test we'd done and it was easy to grab the data. But honestly, we've also done this test on basically any sort of aesthetic design. We have tested, like agencies, particularly for like coalitions, have like done these beautiful pages, and every time we test them against like a local petition, no difference. But that doesn't always mean you shouldn't do it. And one thing I'll give is that like stakeholder kind of perspective is important. And if this is going to make your bosses feel good about your organization or give you more money for a project, that's not always a bad thing. The main thing about the background image, I'd say, is I know lots of people have issues left align, right align, cropping stuff out, and so maybe it just saves you that kind of issue. So, onto the daisy chain. So this is like the old-fashioned one that we talked about. So you've got donate in the top right there, you've got a thank you text, and then you've got the share buttons right at the bottom, and they're little icons rather than buttons. Kind of, you know, what people used to have on their websites in the nav bar. And on the right-hand side, we've got that daisy chain that we were talking about. So you've got a single ask, nice and clear, big buttons rather than icons. So Who thinks that the control, the kind of multiple ask on all one thing, anyone think that one? No. Oh, okay. Who think the daisy chain one? Yeah. Who thinks no statistical significance? Hey, good man. Okay, we have budding. It was the daisy chain, and it won by 276%. This is the biggest increase I've ever seen on any test, is the thank you page. So like, honestly, if you're not doing this, do it. And if you need some help turning your engaging networks little circular icons into big buttons, let us know and we'll implement this for you. We've got a little library that kind of does it automatically. Okay, so we know the daisy chain works, we like our share pages, we like our big buttons. But which buttons do we use? So most people will just give the supporters all the different platforms they want. Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, email. But is that good? Well, let's find out. First of all, we've got what people clicked on that page, so what they used to share. So predominantly, people shared on Facebook by miles. Then you've got Twitter next, email, WhatsApp, kind of fairly even, sorry. And next, we've got how many sign-ups came as a result of that. So you can see Facebook got the most sign-ups. You'd expect that, you know, they're the most shares. Twitter, 878 people shared on Twitter, and it only got 8 sign-ups. So that's just 1%. Email, you know, nice and solid, 11%. And then WhatsApp there, 36% conversion, all right? It was the lowest button people used to share, and it got the second highest number of sign-ups. So what to do here? If you're only interested in lead generation, kill the Twitter button. Honestly, it's not worth it. If it's a kind of advocacy campaign, then obviously it's not always just about sign-ups. It can also be about amplifying. And then I think there's a question of whether you want it to kind of continue the buzz. So it kind of depends on what's the priority for this campaign. And I think this is just one of the things where I'm a little bit skeptical about AI stealing all our jobs, is just because sometimes you might want to include Twitter for the amplification and not the sign-ups, and is AI really going to be able to read that? Ooh, next up, mobile native sharing. So on the left is kind of standard mobile share buttons, and the right, you've got a native share, and you can see what that looks like for anyone that doesn't know what I'm talking about. It'll like open up your phone's share tray and show you your apps that you use most of the time. So left hand, you're forcing them to use certain apps. On the right hand, you're saying use whatever you want, but obviously they might use Twitter or something else, who knows. So who thinks controlling what people can share with is going to win? Okay. Who thinks giving them the choice to share on whatever platform they think wants going to win? Oh, and who thinks no statistical significance? Okay. So it was the letting people share on whatever they want win, and it won by 19%, which is also very, very large. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the kind of landing page and discuss some of the functionality we've got to see where we can increase. So by default, our mobile layout has always just been to add a read more button halfway through the campaign copy. You're not really going to be able to see it at the back, I'm afraid, but we've just like chopped it. You can press read more and it will expand and see the rest of the campaign copy. On the right, we've got a technique that's used by Change, 38 Degrees, and even one of the other big ones, where you have a floating sign this button at the bottom. So as you can see, as you scroll, the button stays there, and then when you click it, it kind of takes up the full viewport of the phone, like a little pop-up, and you get add your name details. So who thinks the control read more is going to win? Okay. Who thinks the variant sticky mobile button is going to win? Anyone left for no statistical significance? Are you voting twice, Eugene? The answer was no statistical significance. I know, shocking, right? I was genuinely shocked. I've moved my slides, but I haven't moved my red box. So this is roll call social proofing. The red box should be above the Jack Siegel signed 1 hour ago, Akshay Kaura signed 2 hours ago. And as you sign the petition, that gets repopulated with the people that have just done it. You know, falls into that social proofing that we're talking at the top. And then you can't actually see it here, but there's a button underneath sign this petition that says, like, hide my details and don't show it. So, who thinks the control's going to win? No one. Who thinks the roll call social proof's going to win? Yep. Who thinks no statistical significance? Ooh, okay. Answer is no statistical significance. The sticky button and that roll call took us about 10 to 12 days to do. The roll call in particularly, skipping ahead, is actually very challenging, particularly technically. We spent a lot of time investigating the UX of the other platforms, implementing it, doing the data, blah-de-blah-de-blah, and neither of them made any difference at all. And so I think, just interesting, but also changing the thank you page, just the layout to as daisy chain, we got 276% improvement. That's relatively straightforward to do. The complicated stuff made no difference at all. So I feel like that's something to bear in mind. Okay, so we've covered a few different things. Now we've got kind of layouts or journeys is what I'd really call them. We looked at the thank you page. Let's see if we can apply those learnings to other pages. So this is email your MP. Traditionally, it's 2 steps. Fill in your details, then write your message, press send. One thing that we've explored is how about we split that out into a single ask per page. Find your MP, then write your message and add your details last. Single ask per page, and also putting the kind of interesting stuff at the beginning and the boring stuff at the end. Okay, who thinks the control, 2-step, 1? So this is less pages overall. Yeah, okay. Less steps, that makes sense. Who thinks the variant with the 3-step 1 ask per page? Okay. Who thinks no statistical significance doesn't make a difference? Okay. So 3-step was the winner, and it won by 17%. Okay, now one thing I touched on about the Twitter button is that sometimes you're not just looking for sign-ups, okay? Particularly in advocacy, sometimes impact is more important. A little example I've got here is Crisis. We did some work for them on a campaign. They normally just go from fill in your details and then write your message. And it's the same pre-filled message for everyone. They approached us because what they wanted to do is, after you filled in their details, they wanted to add a page where you could share a story. Now, sharing the story gives 2 things. Number 1, it's a really easy way for the target to receive different messages. Okay, there are 3 different people's experience here about the campaign, and so the target can receive lots of different messages, but also it helps to kind of educate and engage your supporters, particularly if it's quite a techie campaign. This was about a very specific law that can be quite hard to explain and engage with, so getting supporters to see that, it's like an easy way for them to learn more on it. Yeah, and then here you can just see the way they do it. And this, once again, is just another thing to be aware of about A/B testing, is like, don't always be obsessed with the numbers. Sometimes the things that you want, you can't really measure. Like, how do you measure impact? How do you know if Michael Gove preferred this rather than just getting the same message? How do you know whether the supporters could? Well, you could interview supporters, actually, but honestly, like, we work with a lot of people, we know the kind of budgets, sometimes it's just not possible. So I think I've massively gone over my time, so if I've still got 5 minutes left. Oh, I've got time for... Let's crack on. Are there any questions for me? So do I just point, or do people take the microphone? Cool. I think people got hands up. Do you want to...
Hello, hello.
Lots of people.
The one thing that the one thing that occurred to me, that if I do find my MP, and if I'm not very political and I see that person, and then I'm like, it's a bloody Tory, I might not do that, and versus it just occurred to me, what if you did any testing and like why that would have worked, because like in my head that wouldn't have worked, because if I've got any kind of alignment, then I might not think that would push forward. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think the kind of logic behind that is, so it's a single ask per paging to start with, and that honestly makes a difference everywhere. And secondly, the other big thing is having the boring bit, fill in your details last. So I think you seeing your MP and seeing their political persuasion is going to happen regardless, right? Even if you filled in all your details, you're more going to see it. But just you land on a form, you see name, address, postcode, like 5 different opt-ins. It's like that's a big hurdle to get across. Whereas enter a postcode, okay, and see the next page, oh, okay, maybe. You've got more room to kind of engage with them and kind of convert them. Okay, John's been, yeah, I think we've got a few people. Oh.
Does having a picture of an MP make a difference?
So, you'll see loads of things there that I didn't mention in the testing, and the truth is we don't know. You know, people generally have limited budgets, and the truth is it's not just limited budgets, it's also about limited what's the right word here? Like list length. Like if you've got an email, you can't test everything because you've got to prioritize certain things. So no, we've never actually tested whether a picture of an email makes a difference.
Do you have any information on the demographics? So you've tested this with different charities.
Yeah.
So do you have any idea of kind of the ages, maybe politics of people, just to get an idea?
So no, and that is something which I think is like a really interesting topic, that generally when we A/B everyone. We work with some organizations that will A/B new people, so Facebook ads separately to like retention lists, which I think is key, because like you said, they're massively different. But no, we don't have any like drill down information on demographics. Generally, we work with quite political partners, so I would say in that, but these tests ran the same amongst even people who are a bit more middle of the road, so yeah.
Hello. My question was, I quite like the graph about like Facebook versus WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And I just wondered, we find, like our social media team find that LinkedIn gets loads of engagement because a lot of people are like nerdy and political. And I wondered if like you got any stats on LinkedIn sharing as like maybe less people, but then when it is done, it's like, again, like WhatsApp brings back more results?
Yeah, so what LinkedIn is, so we're about to run a test on LinkedIn very soon. So I'm afraid I don't know that answer yet. Previously, honestly, it had never even occurred to us to even share by LinkedIn. It wasn't until Engaging Networks added it as an option that we even thought about it. So I don't know, I'm afraid. We've got a question. So picture of an MP, we covered that. Div the native share work because it psychologically gives the sharer more autonomy, or because it enables sharer to more places. Honestly, got no idea. And it's really hard to tell. Like, how do you know what made a difference? You can do that through things like interviewing, but honestly, that just gets expensive. Do you have any longitudinal studies on brand and solidarity framing when it comes to images and social proofing? I'm not sure I fully understand that about images and social proofing, but basically, we didn't cover content on this. We have loads of information about the content, but it would have just been a whole other talk, so I just didn't have time to even touch on that. We're wrapping it up. Mic drop.
Thanks, Jay. We're done.